carbon tax wasn't the only issue in town this week. Certainly in certain sections of the media, the News of the World and the problems for Rupert Murdoch. Now talk of an inquiry, some sort of parliamentary inquiry. Who knows what form it might take? But let's hear Julia Gillard's take on this week when she was asked about her approach to media reporting.
Now, you would say it's not your job to change minds about a government policy, and that's true. But I think it is your job to get information to people that's accurate and rigorous. Some of the crazier claims we've seen in this debate need to be put to one side and the accurate facts get out there. I think we will have a long debate about media ethics in this country, but if I could put it as clearly as I can, I'd say to you, don't write crap. Can't be that hard. And when you have written complete crap, then I think you should correct it.
Now, I think it depends how this thing's going to be framed, doesn't it, though? If it's framed around politics, we've got no hope. But if it's framed, but what if it's framed around people's privacy, that kind of thing?
That might be it. Look,
if they come at it from that direction.
Let's look at it. There's a media convulsion, a huge one, underway in Britain, and it's unleashed a huge amount of hostility towards the Murdochs and Murdoch companies, and no doubt about it. And people want to import that to Australia and have it vented through an inquiry. Why do they want an inquiry? Not because the events or the incidents or the inappropriate behaviour in Britain's happening here. It's largely they want an inquiry because they don't believe in the news selection of the editors of the Australian and the Daily Telegraph. Yeah, that's the only reason why. Bob Brown had two press conferences calling for an inquiry. At neither press conference did he nail down a reason for an inquiry. It is simply because he doesn't like what he calls the hate media. That may be the way that some
politicians see it, Malcolm, but don't you think there's disquiet among the public too about the way the media goes?
There will be an inquiry. There will be an inquiry of some sort, of Senate inquiry. What it's about, I don't know yet. The people who decide these things don't know yet either. There are issues like privacy that should be looked at. That may be media ownership, but what do? Do you come up with a plan for News Limited to divest or whatever? It's a very complicated, difficult area that should be addressed in a way that it's not being addressed now, which is simply kicking out at people, newspapers you don't like.
But it is a question about the role, just before we go on, the role of the media, and let's listen to Chris Smith now from 2GB. He was talking about taking his show on the road, taking, in fact, the entire station to Canberra to protest against the government. Here he is.
August 16 is our date with political destiny, I guess you can say. And if we can't eclipse what happened in March, when we had 4,000 gather around Parliament House, we will lose this fight. That is the risk you take when you stick your neck out, but we've got to stick our neck out to make a difference. We must make a bigger stand and rock the Prime Minister's boat one final time.
Now, it's political activism, but I guess they're entitled to do it.
It's quite serious neck sticking.
And they're not going to do it, by the way.
No, they're not now. They're backed off.
It depends what Bob Brown wants inquired into. And Lindsay Tanner, in his book Sideshow, said The Age in Melbourne was an advertising journal for the Greens. We're going to inquire into that. You know, all that's happening is that Rupert Murdoch's company has a problem with one newspaper in Britain, the News of the World. That's, as far as I can see it, where the problem is. The problem may or may not be resolved, but it's got nothing to do with Australia.
Well, I think the problem's a bit broader than that in the UK, but I think I would agree that we have to be careful about what we're inquiring into in Australia, and the issues that we would be inquiring into are separate from what the Prime Minister calls absolute crap. There is, I think, absolute crap being written on some of these issues. There's stuff being written that is completely devoid of any fact, but that's not something that I think it would be healthy for politicians to inquire into, the people who are aggrieved about the lack of factual analysis. If they want to inquire into something different, that's fine, but we need to be quite clear that we're talking about separate things.
But some people like the point that the situation in the UK didn't catch fire until this revelation really about this horrible incident of this poor dead girl's mobile phone being hacked into. The situation in Britain that still persists, largely unremarked on, is that newspapers there pick sides. I mean, I remember in 2005, the Daily Mirror's front page was a doctored picture of Michael Howard, the Conservative leader, dressed up as Dracula. I mean, you know, these are organs that bay for their readers or listeners or whatever to vote a certain way.
If they do have an inquiry, of course, as John Howe suggested, you could end up with something like this.
You're either going to have to believe me or call me a liar. I am telling you there is no arrangement. And I'm sick of telling people there is no arrangement.
No,
that is the situation. There is no arrangement. There is no agreement. I'm sick of trying to tell you all. I am not going to run John Fairfax's.
Now,
why are we going to have unanimity of opinion?
well, let's just suppose.
Well, let's suppose we don't. This is an intellectual wank is going on here.
I think Rupert Murdoch will be a little more chastened than that when he goes before the committee on Tuesday in the UK.
In his Harry Potter suit.